Go ahead.
Okay, we're going to proceed without the mics tonight. Everybody's speaking a little bit louder. We have Kathy Reed on the phone to vote on the issues that we have this evening. Call the meeting to order.
I'm confused.
I'd like to rise. We'll have a moment of silence and pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any board member comments? Not seeing any. We'll proceed to public comments on agenda items only. There are no comments on agenda items. How about the superintendent's report?
I don't have a formal report this evening, but opening day is Monday. We welcome back our teachers, and then we have an opening day exercise with all of our employees. And you've only had an opportunity to see just the lobby of the middle school, but the middle school is beautiful. John's going to give a report about that, but not just the renovations that we've done. If you get an opportunity to see any of our custodians or maintenance folks, our buildings are beautiful. Top to bottom across the board. The cleaning that they did for those buildings to prepare our schools for kids and teachers, again, is a monumental task. And once again, they are phenomenal. They're beautiful. They really, really, truly work hard. On Thursday, we will have a recognition luncheon for our custodial maintenance staff. And if any of you are available, we'd be happy to have you. Also, to help us get the school year started is our secretarial unit. And as I apologize to them today, because most of them have a new boss, with all the changes we made with the administrators, but we had a secretary appreciation luncheon today. So that's another group that we cannot prepare for kids and teachers without them. We definitely cannot prepare for kids and teachers without the hard work of our custodial staff. So when you see them on Monday, when you're here for opening day, please thank them.
We have Mr. Thomas here to give us an update on construction projects.
Okay, I have 3 projects to review with you tonight. I've got it in 2 slides. Kind of combined the flooring project with the HVAC project. But first, I'm going to go through the high school, and I'm just going to go through the progress with you really quickly because we've basically done the whole thing since I talked with you last. So the planned work this period was, basically the whole job. Do the demo, do the framing, patch the plaster, do the rough in, and then have the mechanical contractor come in behind them. That all happened. The next period that you're seeing here, this is the period of August. So there's still some things going on in August, but everything we wanted to accomplish in the tail end of June and July happened. We're at the stage right now with the high school library of doing the painting. They're just now finishing up the sanding on the drywall. Painting is going to happen Saturday and Sunday. Casework has been delivered. The installation has started. The glass walls are going up. They look really nice. I'll show you some pictures of those. Electrical contractor has installed quite a few of the light fixtures. Mechanical contractor is in doing the wee little bit of mechanical work that we have to do. And then we have some modifications coming to the sprinkler pipes. This was the planned schedule. You can see we are a little bit behind with the red activities that are a little further out in time than the gray, but we are stacking those up, and we'll have our stuff out of the way for you to start loading your furniture in next week. Manpower has been pretty consistent. Payments, not a lot to speak of there because we haven't had all that many intervals to process payments. No change orders yet on the high school library. There will be one that we've negotiated, and it's to install a strip of terrazzo where the library joins the corridor. You'll recall that there used to be kind of a classical wood portico pediment type design there. And when they tore that out, they could see that there was some missing terrazzo. So they've already cut out the terrazzo. They're putting in the new glass. I think they put most of the glass entry in today. And then they'll come back and put a strip of terrazzo about this wide in there so that it matches in with the terrazzo in the corridor. And we have that negotiated to a price that we think is acceptable. I think, Pat, you've given your initial blessing on it, but we'll be back next month to give you the final number on that. And then here's the budget. Again, it's, since there have been no changes, it's the same as the original budget, just over $1 million. No change orders. And Amanda, you're going to hit the expanded word for me.
Yeah.
I have a question, John Thomas.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, hi, John.
How are you?
I have a question in regard to the demolition crew that we have. Are they the ones that are responsible to take the things from the school which contain metal or whatever for recycling?
Oh, geez, I don't know that I can answer that question completely. Everything that was construction, like a metal stud, yeah, they would have taken that out. But I think that some of the metal shelving components, I think the school actually took those out.
Once you have it demoed and there's scrap metal, I believe that's what you're saying, Kathy. Who owns the scrap metal in the demolition of a building of this nature?
Well, unless you tell the contractor that you own it, they own it. And the same thing happens with copper wiring. I know we've done really big renovation projects where we've had conduits that were maybe 4 inches in diameter and they were just filled with copper wire. The contractors come in and they cut it with like a chainsaw into logs that are 3 or 4 feet long, and then they take it down and they get money for it. And that reflects in their bid price. You see their bids come in low because they know they're going to get that salvage. Does that answer your question, Kathy?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to show some photographs of the whole sequence that happened this summer. This is what the library used to look like on April 21st, and actually this is when the disassembly started. But you can see it was kind of a closed-in looking space, kind of dark. You see the high shelves in the background. This is what happened a couple days after you voted. The demolition started, and you could see they started tearing out all the furniture. This is the front of the building, and you'll recall that there was an alternate in the bid that I advised you not to accept, and it was to make some larger windows. We did do some negotiations with the contractor. Thomas and Williamson did a little bit of redesign on the structure to support those windows, and you're going to get the windows at no additional charge. And you'll see from the inside, a couple photos down, that it's going to be a major improvement. So again, more demo. You can see that there's the ceiling grid up there that all came out. A lot of the HVAC equipment became exposed. We stripped it the whole way down to the structure, this is in the central part of the library. And the architect felt as though the structure had, he said he thought it had some nice bones, and you can see those bones here. It's the columns and the repetitive structure, and you'll see what he does to that. All the partitions were torn out. This is the hallway. This is where that strip of terrazzo is, by the way. It's right at the line there, the joint between the library and the cafeteria, or the corridor. Again, stripping out all the cabling that was in. And here's the new framing. So here we were by July 10th. We had already begun framing the new partitions. Right after that came the electrical rough-in. You can see the conduits going into where the framing is. More electrical rough-in. More electrical rough-in. And then we get to the point where we start finalizing all the rough-in, get the inspection. You see everything has to be inspected before we put the board up. You see they're painting the windows, framing of the bulkheads going across the top. This makes a transition between the old plaster ceiling and the new plaster ceiling. And here's the holes that were cut in the front. If any of you have driven past the high school, you're not going to have those little slivers of windows that let about 1 photon of light in anymore. Now you're going to see some daylight coming into the library, and it's going to be in a strategic location that'll really improve the way it looks. Here's the board going on. Here's the angled walls, and these are the group rooms. This is where the students will break out into groups and do their projects. The walls in these rooms are going to have the dry erase paint, so you'll be able to write your assignment and all your thoughts. They call it idea paint. You'll be able to write that all over the walls, and that'll happen in each group room. Here's the grid and the lighting rough-in that holds the hard ceiling. This is up in the magazine area toward the front of the library. Here's the final state of the exposure of the structure. Here's the new openings and the framing going in. That's what it looks like on the inside. Big improvement. Now we couldn't afford to get the skylights in the way the architect wanted to, and maybe sometime in the future when you go to replace that roof above here, you'll reconsider that. More board. Here's your bulkhead. Again, we're down to July 31st, and now we're really turning on the jets. Everything's getting painted. Here's the column enclosure. So he wanted the column, he wanted all the structure to be very visible, and he just wrapped them in a steel enclosure. They'll get painted with an accent color. Here's the light fixtures going in, rather unique light fixtures that were selected. There's a close-up of the column enclosures. Here's the glass that went into the group rooms, no frame, an invisible frame. You can see another unique detail on the, I don't know if I can point to that with this. The door frames. There are no door frames. It's an invisible door frame that gives it a really clean look. You see that there. Again, this is where the seating area, there will be a couple bench seats in front of here, and it's kind of an informal breakout area. And that's another view of that same area. This is, I don't know if you remember the round glass wall that used to be in there. This is, it's actually hard to see that it is a wall. It's just glass from one side to the other. And there will be the distance learning classroom will be inside this glass room. Again, the whole concept is we want everybody to be able to see from one side to the other when they come into this. Not necessarily hear from one side to the other, but see from one side or the other. We want to see a lot of activity going on because this truly is the hub of the school. And that's how, we began to clean up the ceiling. This is the bulkhead over the magazine area. This is a view of the front entrance. So again, now you'll come up the steps into that center corridor. You won't have to go searching for the library. It now will jump out in front of you. A view from the inside of the distance learning room. A view of the group rooms. Again, they're all going to be having that same shape. Close up of the cabinets. Now this, all of the shelving the high shelving has been moved to the perimeter, and there will only be low shelving in the center of the space, so that if you're standing or even sitting, you'll be able to see across. You'll recall back to that first photograph in April that it had a very cloistered look because you had all those shelves that were blocking your view from one side of the library to the other. And that's all I have for the high school library. Any questions on it? Okay, I'm going to move quickly to the, thank you, Amanda, to the HVAC project. The cooling has been turned on. I don't know if there's much else I need to say. We thought we'd get everything taken care of. This last bullet point jumped out in front of us to put the flooring project into the HVAC job. Take a look around. It looks great. Really cleaned it up. You've had flooring issues in this building, I think, since you redid it in 1998. And you don't have those anymore. They came in, did a lot of nice prep, smoothed everything out, and it just it has a brand spanking new look to it. So yes, we got everything taken care of there. I think they finished tile yesterday or maybe today, and the only thing that they have to do is the rubber base that goes around the perimeter. I did want to note that the chiller was tested and started running. I actually asked them to turn it off. There was something that, a feature that I think there was some confusion in the spec, and I really didn't want it running until they reconciled it. They have reconciled it. It's not in any danger running right now, but we are putting in a feature that will operate the system more safely without having the potential for a freeze up. Yeah, so this is all history. It's all behind us now. And again, I think they did a really good job. Our red bar was the current date, and I think for all intents and purposes, they were substantially complete a month early, which is good. I don't need to review the key plans with you. I don't need to review these. Everything's behind us. You can see on the red bars down at the bottom beside the blue bars, they kind of turned it on at the end. Still a little bit of a distance between the highest red bar and the highest blue bar. That'll be the retainage and the final payment. Contingency, we started with a little bit more, I guess, 20,000 more than the 110. I think you're going to finish up with 110,000 still in your contingency, and that's if you approve the change orders I'm going to recommend tonight. And here's all your soft costs. Everything's kosher there. Okay, so let me talk about these change orders. Nothing really big. One item that's big, and it has to do with the library. But let me hit these small ones. 2 chases in the library. I had forgotten about this. There's actually some refrigerant lines. Not everything is served by a chilled water line. And where those refrigerant lines came through the library, we needed the contractor to put enclosures around them so that you didn't see the pipes. So that's an add of $1,316.18. In the second one, HC11, when they were redoing the ductwork for the auditorium, they saw that some of the insulation inside the duct, and it's like a blanket type insulation that's inside the duct, it was loose. So they went in, they coated the duct. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You put a white coating on the duct and it makes it cleaner, gets rid of the dirt. So that was a change order for $2,214.02. So we're recommending that as well. A plenum box for the fan coil unit in room 102. I think this was a situation where we just had some existing conditions to work around, and they had to build a little box to support that unit. That's $585.48. Here's the big one, and this is showing up under the electrical contract, but you know we're running general work through the electrical contract. So this is to replace the entrance at the library. Originally, they were going to leave the entrance there. I think this is a worthwhile improvement. It's $14,779.80. To replace that. If you go down there now, you'll see that the old one's torn out, so you'll definitely need this. And then the next one is also, it's shown under electrical, but it is very much a general work item, is to paint the wood. There is just a little bit of wood that's left, wood trim that's left in the library, and you can see it down there now. This would be to paint that instead of leaving it as a natural wood grain, and that's $856.80. Do I have any questions on the change orders? Mrs. Reed, any questions on the change orders?
Mrs. Reed?
Oh, no.
Okay, good.
I'm good.
Thank you. Okay, so here's some other things you did basically by yourself. Put some carpet in the collaboration room. Cleaned that up. Looks great. Here's that little box I was talking about. One of those little boxes. We did something very similar for the one change order. It's to cover up the pipes in the corner. Here are the condensers that I just talked about, or we're running the refrigerant lines. And those are, this is an old photograph. Those condensers are already installed. Here's your new floor tile. Again, what a transformation. You can see that the base wasn't installed yet in this photograph, but it's in there now.
On all also in there is the repainting of the lockers, and you can really see them now that you have the entire floor done. Those lockers were a pink before, and now they're that tan color, which we approved April or May. That's just down the hallway here. And you can also start to see, that one's not done. Some of the inside of the doorways have been painted. If not, they will be painted that cranberry color that's in the diamond.
A lot of them are already, yeah.
Yeah, and you can see that bulkhead is that color, where those were that green and that salmon or pink color before. So it's a brand new school. It looks beautiful.
Very small investment and very high impact. You got your money's worth on that one. Again, this is a hallway that doesn't have the base. I think most of the base is in all the hallways. Here's the library. It's been opened up. The lighting's been shifted around. They have a lot of the accent walls are painted. There's still a couple trenches in the floor. We had to trench the floor, and we had an asbestos abatement job that we had to do to get those trenches in. You can see the trench. If you walk down there tonight, you'll see the trenches, and they're waiting for the concrete to get poured in them. As soon as that happens, you can start putting your flooring in. This is over. This is one of. That's kind of hard to see. This is like an orange color. And that's all I have for the HVAC project that has become the HVAC/library/flooring/vestibule project.
John, what kind of flooring is going in the junior high library?
That'll be carpet tile. And same thing as the high school. It'll all be tiles. So it'll look similar to that one collaboration lab that we showed you. Same kind of pattern.
That's what I was just.
Same pattern, okay.
Yes,
John,
Mr. Nudie.
When you turn the chillers on, how long do you have to wait to shake the building down to make sure no leaks are?
Well, they already did that.
They did?
They did that, yeah, because they have to flush all the lines. So they go in and that was going on in July. They were flushing all the lines, and they did a test startup on the chiller. And then I just happened to mention to our project manager, because I know you'd had problems in the district before with bypass issues. And even though there's a very remote possibility that you would have a bypass problem here because of the way it was designed, I just wanted to make sure we had it in just for an extra level of safety. So they're getting ready to put that in. And I do expect them to have to play around with the controls like they always do. But they have a totally functional system in front of them. I think about 75% of the programming is done already. But anytime you're starting up air conditioning and you've never run it before, there's some user contractor interface that you have to go through to make sure it's running the way you like it. But I think we're in good shape to have that happen quickly.
And another thing I'd like to compliment you on, you did an excellent job bringing that tiling work back in on schedule. It seemed like it was lagging for a period of time there, and did get the proper resources in.
Well, sometimes it's just a matter of communicating to the contractor where he really is instead of where he believes he is. And that was one of those. George Pyrock, our project manager, was running production and productivity charts on the floor every day and sending them to the contractor every week. And where the contractor thought he was going to experience a vertical asymptote in his production curve, it really looked more to us like a flat line. So a couple different demonstrations of that to him, and he staffed up and kicked it into gear.
So you see no surprises on the opening day when the students arrive?
No, I think the only struggle that we have going on now is, we wanted to make sure we had the flooring in the libraries as soon as possible, so that when the furniture started showing up, that we wouldn't be jammed up. So I do think the flooring in both is a couple days behind, but they'll start on one side and leave an area for stocking on the other side. So I do expect the furniture shipments, I think, are going to be coming in starting late this week or maybe early next week, with some seating coming in. And then I think we're expecting those shipments to go on through September. So I think the contractors will be out of your way for the bulk of the furniture. And in the meantime, they'll have to cohabitate, and the furniture people and the flooring people will have to coordinate with each other. But that's not an uncommon thing.
I'd like to thank you, Thomas and Williams and Company, on behalf of the board, for you've done an excellent job and you've been a great community citizen.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay, folks, thanks again.
Brings us to the education agenda. You care to cover the education?
Sure, I'd be happy to take care of that. We have two items on the education agenda. One is a Title I AIU non-public contract for 2015-16, and the second one is the elementary handbook for 2015-16. And I'm going to ask Dr. Kane to give us the highlights of those two, since those are both her items.
All of the children are from the high school attendance area except one child is from Assumption. And you can see the amount of money that we are required to give to the non-public schools is $12,080.42. Any questions about that? In the elementary handbook, there were some changes made, and you're going to see the attendance page, there have been changes. And only because it was rewording, and we wanted to make sure that information was in there to the parents about when a child is tardy at McIntyre and Ross and Highcliffe and at Westview. We also added a page at the very back for identifying students in need of special education and related services, which is required. We also added information there for parents who want to volunteer that two of the clearances were waived for a fee, but the one, there is a fee for it, so we included that in the document.
I think it's explained very clearly, and it's great to have those as part of the handbook, because there's been so many changes with the laws, and especially at the elementary level with parents. We do want to encourage parents to get involved, and I think you did a nice job of laying it out so that they know what to expect. So I appreciate you adding that in there for them.
I'm sorry, I was right here, Dr. Kane, whenever she was giving a presentation, and she may have addressed it, but I have one question in regard to the handbook. It wasn't up here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. On page 12, the guide for dressing in group, that students should dress according to weather conditions per se. Now, it doesn't say on there that if it's 32 degrees, 33, that the kids can't wear shorts. And there's been children that wear shorts to school, and they're sent in lunchtime or whenever they're outside because of weather conditions. Now, the parents I talk to, they say they might fight their battles, not the wars. And apparently this is with a lot of us. Not that I agree with it, because I'm a grandma. I like the long pants. But this seems to be the in trend. Now, is that up to each individual school building or teacher that the child has, whether they can go make the decision whether they can go outside if they are shorts?
I think it depends. Are you able to hear me, Kathy?
Probably not.
Okay. I think it depends on who is looking at the child. If they appear cold, that kind of pulls at your heartstrings, and you want to send the child in to stay warm. I think that's what it is all about.
Kathy, Dr. Kane was saying that it's a judgment call if the adults that are looking at the children, if they appear to be cold and they're outside, then they want to encourage them to go inside so that they're going to be warm and comfortable.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on academic items? Okay, there are none. I lost my page here. Then the motion, the superintendent recommends, and I so move, that the board approve education items number 1 and 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
We have five votes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Technology, there's nothing on the technology for this evening. Athletics and activities, Dr. Knowles, would you cover that, please?
Okay, we have one item on that one as well, and it is a request to approve, to officially recognize the Buddy Program, which is a student-initiated club. And the purpose is for our high school students to work with children with intellectual and developmental disabilities, so giving them some friendships, matching them up with volunteer students. And there is no budget impact on that. We have Jeremy Sabo is a paraprofessional at the high school, and he has agreed to voluntarily oversee the club, so there is no budget impact as far as the sponsorship. And my understanding is this is a program that met with a lot of success last year and was beneficial for all of the students involved. So the superintendent, if there are any questions, are there any questions before I make the motion? So the superintendent recommends, and I so move, that the board approve athletics and activities item number 1, which is to recognize the Buddy Program.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The Beatty Career Center, there are no items on the agenda for this evening.
No, I,
Do you have something, Mrs. Reed?
no, nothing.
Personnel. Mr. Kelly, would you take the personnel?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moody. Personnel items, it seems that this past month has been a very busy time for administrators as well as members of the board. And the personnel items, which included appointments and resignations, change of status, leave of absence, and also currently the PAeducator.net contract. Superintendent recommends, and I so move, that the board personnel items 1 through 5.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
No,
I am going to be voting no on, let me see, 3-1.
Annie, I'll
Change
be,
of status, 3-1.
Annie, I'll be voting no on G31 also.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And Mr. Nudi, I'd also like to take this opportunity on behalf of the board to congratulate Carla Witherall, retirement as a paraprofessional with the district after 5 years of service. That's it for personnel.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Mr. Kelly, and Mrs. Reed. You've spent an awful lot of time during this period of personnel turmoil and upheaval. Action by the board is very much appreciated by the board.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Policy. There are no items under the policy for approval. Community intergovernmental relations.
We have one item to approve tonight. It's the renewal of the Ross Westview SA contract at a rate of $2,500. So the superintendent recommends, and I so move, we approve item 1.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
One other just informational item. The superintendent, myself, and Mr. Hall met a few weeks back with Shelby Miller. He's the demographer we hired last winter, demography study of the district, prepare us for potential drawing of the district boundary lines for potentially starting in the 16-17 school year.
Sid Miller.
Shelby Miller, I'm sorry.
Shelby Stimson.
Shelby Stuman.
Got married. Changed his name.
We've used Mr. Stuman in the past. He's done this for many school districts. He's given us a preliminary report, specs as far as growth in our district across the various grade levels. He is currently in the process of breaking that down further, just an idea of neighborhood by neighborhood of where it affects population. When he has that information, he will be invited to come and make a presentation public. So we're expecting that to happen this fall.
Hopefully September, but it doesn't. September's approaching.
Okay. The upshot of the preliminary numbers he gave us, which are just district-wide for the elementary level, is to expect over the next several years out as far as 2024, for there to be a slight uptick in the elementary population level. We're in a range. He gave various scenarios, but anywhere in a range of, very conservatively, meaning projecting as many students as he thinks might be enrolling, anywhere up to 200 to 240 kids above the level that we're at now, 6. And if you recall the presentation that earlier this year on our building capacities, call that that number of students we very comfortably accommodate within our existing footprint of our 4 buildings. But again, Dr. Stuman will be here within the next couple months, his full presentation, and really break it down on a granular level for us so that we can have the best information possible before we start deciding when and where and how to find our boundaries to ensure that we have balance among them.
No, I think that's all the point. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yeomans. Mr. Burnett, will you take the finance?
Judy, we have 7 items: general fund bills, the construction fund bills, capital fund bills, payroll for the month of June and July of 2015, and the appointment of the deputy tax collector for Westview, which are much all routine. But there are 2 items I'd like Mr. Hall to jump in here and take a stab at it and explain. Is the approval of a settlement agreement, which would be the first one, and the second would be the sale of the Heil property. Could you shine some light on that, Mr. Hall?
It has to do with a trust that was established, which the trustees over time sold off all the valuable property, leaving the trust having reasonably worthless property in it. But they also distributed all the net assets so that the trust did not have adequate funds to pay property taxes that they allowed to accumulate. They attempted to abandon the property. We took exception to that. And the settlement agreement was reached in which they are proposing to pay half of the delinquent taxes and to give us the property. 3 parcels of property totaling approximately 12 acres and 27,000 something in delinquent taxes. As to the Howe property, as you know, we own 2 properties as part of the stadium that were purchased during the renovation. The owners were given life estates. The owners have since passed on and have taken ownership of those properties. The upper property is the older property, which is in fairly poor condition, and we received an offer to purchase that, which I'm asking the board to approve with several contingencies.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. The superintendent recommends, and I so move that the board approve the finance items 1.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Support services. One item on the agenda for support service for this evening, and this is the transportation of a student on an F1 visa. Mr. Hall, would you care to explain that.
A child who is visiting the United States on an F1 visa from their home to Eden Christian Academy. An F1 visa is not a student exchange visa. It is a foreign student who has a visa to come to the United States for purpose of study, which under the federal law requires them to pay tuition to whatever school they attend. And under state law, we are not required to accept or provide services to them. Several times in the past, the board has had similar requests and has denied those requests, and under policy 242, we don't tend to accept F1 students who provide services to them. However, in this particular instance, the family has two other children who are resident children who are also attending Eden Christian Academy, therefore providing transportation to this student with the F1 visa would not have any additional cost to the district and would be simply allowing that child to board a bus along with the two existing resident children. So I thought the board might want to consider whether or not they wish to have an exception or take an exception to policy 242 to allow this student to ride that bus.
Superintendent recommends, and I so move that the board approve support services item number 9.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Yeoman is voting no. We have the vote. We do have the 5 votes.
Mm-hmm.
Other public comments on non-agenda items? I understand we have 2 people.
As you know from the presentation from Mr. Thomas, there were 3 change orders that he proposed the board approved. They did not send that over to us in time for us to get it on the formal agenda. But I was wondering if the board would like to make a motion to approve those 3 change orders as described by Mr. Thomas.
So moved.
So moved, yeah.
Oh, can you make the motion? Is that be ordered? Can someone make that motion?
The way that was worded, Mr. Kelly would have made that motion.
Yes.
Since he moved as to what Mr. Hall said, and we'll make sure that Andy gets that worded correctly. I think Annette then seconded it.
Seconded, yeah.
So you can take the vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. There are additional public comments. Would those people come forward right now?
I think I need to read this public participation statement before you begin. So we would like to invite any members of the public who wish to address the board to come forward at this time. It is our policy to strongly encourage such public participation inasmuch as it provides the board with an important source of ideas as well as informs us of many concerns in the district. The board does reserve the right, however, to limit the amount of time allotted for public discussion of any particular speakers and/or issues in the interest of preserving an orderly and effective public meeting. Personnel items must be submitted in writing to the board president for consideration 5 days prior to the board meetings. Items dealing with Title I and VI can be addressed. Some of your concerns can be immediately and quickly addressed following your comments, while others may require more research and discussion. When appropriate, you're welcome to further discuss your concerns with us following this meeting. We appreciate your interest.
Okay. D. Spade, 104 Wanker Drive. I'm here to ask my favorite question. Has anything more happened with Seville? We've noticed that there's been a lot of activity down there, not only by school board and school members, but also by outside people looking at the building, walking the grounds. So we're interested in knowing if anything else is going on.
Mr. Hall?
About the possibility of purchasing the building for a school program. They have told me that they may be putting together a proposal to make an offer to us. They have not done so yet, and I certainly don't know how serious they are or how much they would be offering us at this point. But it would be for the purpose of a school.
Like a regular school like we have here, but a Christian school,
It would be a religious school.
religious school. Okay, has the sheriff's department or anybody like that contacted you? Because we were under the understanding that they were down there looking at that to use for training. Has anybody from there contacted you?
I know that we have, I know Ross Police schedules trainings in there on a regular basis.
Right.
There's a number of times that police forces, canine units, different training companies come in and utilize the space for training. I believe we've had several there this summer. So if you saw a whole lot of police cars and police activity, it was a training.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking to a guy that was down there, and he said they had been, and who they were exactly, I'm not sure, but it was somebody with the county, had been talking about looking at that for training purposes.
They love the fact that it's a school.
Right.
With the school spaces and the classrooms and the lockers and all of those things that they would face if they ever had to interact in a school. And it's an unoccupied school, so they can really do a lot of different training activities in there. And they've had several of us down to witness a lot of the stuff that they do. And it's really neat to watch them work in that space. So they have used it quite a bit for cases of that nature.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time, and let's hope something good happens down there. Have a nice rest of your summer. Thank you.
One other thing that you may have been seeing as far as activity, I know we are preparing for another surplus equipment auction. And that's where all of the surplus equipment's being shipped to. So you may have seen the auctioneer down there taking pictures and getting ready for that
You know when
auction.
that's going to be?
Sometime this fall. It's going to be another one of those internet auctions, electronic auctions. It's not going to be physical auction at the location.
Just people pulling up with their trucks and loading this stuff up and going.
There will be that once the auction is complete. There'll be people coming and loading up and taking the stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Next question. Is there any thought about maybe marketing the space? That training thing for the police is really interesting. Has there been any interest in other?
We do have the voting.
Okay.
This wasn't what I came here to talk about, but the school being used for training purposes for police, is there a possibility of marketing it to other police forces and maybe charging fees for them to come and train in the building? It sounds like it's a unique space that the district might be able to gain some revenue from.
We've never thought of that, but we do know that it's not just Ross and Westview that utilize the space, that they do it in collaboration with the Sheriff's Department and the county. There's a lot of forces that I think Ross kind of pulls people together to bring them to that space because it's there.
But also because it's free.
Yeah, and we do it as a service to Ross Township and the things that we do together between the two governments.
Interesting. It's a possible revenue venue, and if you have a police force that some of the country would like to train on that, especially with what happens these days and the severity of it. Anyway, okay. I think I'm up next on the agenda. Correct. Quick introduction. My name is Michael Vallette. A graduate in 1982. I have to tell you, this place looks amazing. Air conditioning. I almost want to come back. Library looks great, grounds look great. I have two children in the district. I have a boy, Max, going into second grade. I have a daughter, Hannah, going into seventh grade. She's coming up to what we still call the hilltop. If all goes to plan, she'll be your valedictorian in 6 years. At least that's what my plan is. All right, so the reason I come to you today is sort of something I found out about a week and a half ago, sort of by default, that I didn't realize. And I wanted to find out what the reasons were behind it. My daughter benefited greatly over the last 4 years by playing association softball. We have a great athletic association here in the North Hills. You're talking about a brainiac kid who was very shy, a little bawkward, couldn't make a decision to save her life. After 4 years of softball, she just finished a great tournament season. We finished up with the McIntyre tournament, which they won, which was a lot of fun. But what I found out at the tournament was that a third of her team wasn't going to be coming to play club softball, and the reason that they were disqualified was because they went to St. Sebastian's. And I found that a little curious because it's been my belief that St. Sebastian students use our school buses. The vast majority of them, I would imagine, are residences of the North Hills, and I believe probably the vast majority, 95% of them, come straight from St. Sebastian's and come up to the hilltop. And my reason really for asking this is, given the way things have changed over the last, well, let's see, 82, what year is this, 2016, 34 years, and with social media and with the pressures that go on with kids, it seems to me that sport would be a great way to keep these kids who are going to be coming to us, and we know they're coming to us in 2 years, integrated and tight and friends and relationships, so that when they come here, that transition is a lot easier. And I didn't know, and really this is sort of a fact-finding for me, I was wondering why.
It's a private parochial school.
Okay.
And we're a public school.
Okay.
And our programs are for the public school students that attend the public schools. And that's sort of the way it has to be.
So to follow up though, I believe that club programs are offered to alternative and magnet and homeschooled students, correct?
All in a different category. Private parochial, when they go to that private parochial school, or they go to that charter school, that's whenever the rules change. But the homeschool students are our students in that case. We're responsible for them as if they attend and walk the halls of the building.
Right.
We don't have a magnet school, but some districts that do have a magnet school, that child or that student is a student of that school district. Although, yes, they live here, absolutely correct. They are not a student of the district. It's through state law that we're required to transport students to go to a private or parochial school.
Okay.
So that's where you get that fine line between private and public.
Right.
And this is where that line comes in. And I agree with you, as a former athlete and someone that really supports the athletic programs that we have here, it's absolutely a way that I want our students to go and to benefit on the programs that we have. But our programs are for the public school students that attend the public schools.
But when you talk about the rules, are these the rules that you guys have set? You know, you understand St. Sebastian came into existence in 1955. And a lot of people sit back and say, well, it's the way it's been that way since probably 1960. You know, I looked at I did a little bit of research for this. I looked at the PIAA guidelines. One of the things they said was, okay, if you have a student that is in one of these alternative school programs, as long as that school did not offer that club sport, okay, as long as the student's home address would make them qualify as a student that would actually go to the public school. You know, for example, if you had a kid coming down from the north end of Unite Road that's in the North Allegheny territory, they would not be able to say, well, I go to St. Sebastian's, I get to join North Hills Club Softball. So the PIA actually has provisions. They also have another provision in there that says the host school, the big school, can actually say no to it if it's going to change their AA classification, like if it would take them from an AA to a AAA school. I don't think that North Hills has that issue. I don't know the exact, but my point to the matter is that if the rules are set by you guys, and just like the library, you know, I went here with the library, he's right, you couldn't get more than 2 photons through those windows. Just like the library changes, maybe with the way that especially with the pressures, and I'm talking about the girls. You know, girls go through a lot. I have a 12-year-old girl, and I'm just learning the parental challenges. If it's a rule that we can change, we should consider changing it. You know, because if part of the people that guided my daughters, a couple of the coaches, some of the best coaches she ever had in her life, were parents of girls who are now in St. Sebastian's who can't play on the team. And a week and a half ago, they were on a tournament team. And now you're going to say, well, now, you know, Hannah, you're caught for Ash, and she's a great pitcher, but you're only going to see her at birthday parties and maybe in the summer. You know,
I'd like to see them enroll in the district. on my side of the story is we have an unbelievable academic package.
I-
Children go through that.
100% behind you.
And it's one of the things that I, as a superintendent of a public school, continue to defend on a regular basis, in that we have tremendous programs, tremendous academic programs, athletic programs, arts, music, all of those things that make us different from what private and charter schools are doing.
Yep.
And that's the thing that, in this case, I want to protect. I want to protect the fact that you have to come to this school in order to benefit in that aspect of it. And I'm speaking for me as the superintendent, and I know you're talking to the board, and I have answered a lot of your questions. But that's my feeling as the superintendent. I want those kids to come here. I want them to walk that hall, and then I want them to go play softball with their friends. And that's a parental decision, and that's where I don't get to make that choice. I'd like to make that recommendation, because I'll tell you right now, our academic package far exceeds what they're offering.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely.
But that's a parental choice. But part of that parental choice is that there are privileges that come with the public school, and that's one of the privileges, and that's one that I would like to protect.
I would disagree with you. I would say that the privilege is outweighed by the experience that you get. Think about this: those kids are going to be yours in 2 years anyway.
Maybe a lot of them are going to North Catholic when they move. A lot of them are going to Oakland or Central. Since the girls are talking Oakland, but we do see that high number.
If I had a statistical number, I would have researched it ahead of time. But the point of the matter is my point was when I went here, and all of my friends that I hung out with, I didn't even know. I came here in 10th grade. I didn't even know that the clique of friends that I fell into were St. Sebastian graduates. It's just the way they were in 1982 or 83 when I met them. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but the simple fact of the matter is that we've got a parochial school. We've got a very strong Catholic background in the North Hills. That's not going to be broken. If there's one privilege that would probably help transition 7th and 8th graders to coming into the school and giving them a better school experience once they get here, and if it's one thing that we can offer them in order to strengthen those bonds and those relationships, to make walking in the door, like, you walk in the door and you're coming in from St. Sebastian and you only know the kids from St. Sebastian, or you walk in the door and you know the kids from St. Sebastian, but you also know your 15 teammates, and your parents have been coming to the games at Sharman Field, and your friends are coming to the games at Sharman Field, and families are getting to meet each other, and then they know each other from church, and the experience that you end up presenting to the student once they get here is a lot better. And I realize that they're not our responsibility. And when I say our, I consider myself part of you guys. I realize that they're not our responsibility, but looking ahead, if we have a way to make that better for them and easier when they get here, and it's the difference of handing a privilege to them, if you say the privilege of going out and working hard and being a teammate, my argument to you is that's a privilege that maybe we might want to let a little bit out there. And I thank you for your time. I realize that this is short notice. Had I even known that this existed a week and a half ago, I probably would have made sure it was on the agenda to have a vote. And I will welcome any more feedback.
Would you mind just stating your address for the record?
125 8th Avenue. You can drive a 9-iron to my house. We are Laurel Gardeners, right by the tire store.
It'll take Lou 2 shots, he just said.
He shanks it, I know. So, but guys, this is the reason I came up here, because I came from the city of Chicago. We didn't play sports. We played Little League, and that was it. There were no, in Chicago, you went to public schools for grade school, and you went to Catholic schools for high school. I didn't, until I got to Pittsburgh and realized that we had the school system. And what was interesting is until the kids started getting into sports, I didn't realize that there was sort of like this, almost a shunning. Well, you don't go to our school, a lot of it has to do with tradition and religion and things that we can't fight against. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. Love to see them here. This is an amazing place. It's a great school. What you're doing to my daughter's brain is unbelievable. But I'm more thinking towards the other kids, the kids at St. Sebastian's that could benefit this when they eventually get here. So I appreciate your time. I didn't know what the process would be from here. And I would love to someday bring a package and a proposal into you to make this happen. I've thought about the financial aspects of it. Right now, girls softball gets about $400 from the school. There's about, between the senior high, about 35 girls up there right now. That works out to be, I don't know, $11 or $12 a girl. You could always say to the St. Sebastian folks, look, it costs a North Hills girl $130 to join the team. I just paid the check last week. It's going to cost you guys $142. Or you could, and I'll bet you right now, if I marched in the parents of all of the 35 girls that are on the softball field right now, because they're practicing right now in conditioning, every single North Hills parent would say, we'll pay an extra $3 or $4 if you allow that to go. I can tell you also that there's a couple of coaches that it's a shame that we're not bringing over. We brought 2 or 3 at Hannah's 5 coaches over. 2 can't because their kids go there. So I don't know what the process is from here. I just wanted to make that suggestion. If anyone, so any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me okay, Ms. Sari?
Pardon me?
Can you hear me okay?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. In regard to your concerns about softball and St. Sebastian, I would like to share with you that whenever we have tryouts for 9th grade cheerleading, all of the parochial schools are covered with a letter giving them the dates that the tryouts will occur. For your girls, tryouts for junior high cheerleading. In St. Sebastian's will not accept our letter because we are not a parochial school. So therefore, the parent or the coach, whoever it be, they need to seek out a parent to give this to, so the information is shared with the students. Doesn't accept it from us.
Yeah. I mean, I can guarantee you that if word got out within the next 24 hours that the St. Sebastian girls could play softball, we'd probably have 5 more signing up by the weekend.
That's a lot of cheerleaders.
That's another conversation I could have going to St. Sebastian. I would be more than happy to approach them and talk to them about, because I sit back and think they don't have a football program anymore. What if the next Terry Bradshaw right now is sitting in 7th grade? I'm sure the North Hills football coach would like to start grooming him now. The PIA rules are actually kind of interesting because it's sort of set up to also protect the smaller schools from the bigger schools poaching. Let's say the next Mean Joe Green is down there, and there's a kid down in St. Sebastian who's 6'5", 230 pounds in 7th grade. The rules are set up to keep the big school from going down and poaching talent. Again, my main thrust of this is that it's a better transition, especially with social media and all of the negative things that can impact relationships between kids at that age. To have them as sports and as teammates when they finally do walk in the school in 8th grade and they get to see probably what they've been missing for the last 8 years. My contention is that having teammates that have already walked the halls for 2 years is a great advantage, and it will improve their educational experience once they do get here. So, I don't know how to proceed from here. I would like to make a motion at some point in time that you change the rules. I don't know what the process is for doing that. I realize that this is at public comments at the end. If there's a way I can get a motion for the next meeting for new business, I would like to have that happen. If you think I'm completely wasting my time, and I totally respect you, you can tell me, Mike, you're wasting your time. But I just thought it would be a different. I have a feeling that this question has been asked before, but probably been asked by parents of kids who go to St. Sebastian. I just thought it would be a different approach if a parent from one of those kids' teammates came up and implored you to change your mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comments? Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.